Hey, I'm Coach Jay, and this is Kalen Hard Ticket May. Today we're going to talk about the Philly shell, the general skills it takes, and why you don't see it more in amateur boxing. Hey, I'm Coach Jay, and today we've got somebody new for you to work with, Kalen Hard Ticket May. Now you'll notice, I'm going to say right up front, you'll notice that this is not my son, so we're not from a common household in today's COVID environment. I need to let you know that he is from what's called a common social circle. And in phase 3, that means you're allowed to actually break the normal social distancing rules. So don't think that we're breaking the rules, we're actually still adhering to the Ontario rules for this. Nonetheless, let's get moving. There's been a lot of talk lately about the Philly shell. Why don't we see it happen in the amateurs? Should I use it? Should I use the Philly shell as my primary style in the ring? My answer is usually no, and it's been no for a few years now, but I receive this question so often that I decided to do a video about it, show you a little bit about the Philly shell, and then explain why it's not used so commonly. So first off, Philly shell is an absolutely outstanding style. And for all the purists out there, or for the people who are going to pick it apart, yes, I know that it comes from a style that's built around the shoulder roll. I know that technically in the 50s and 60s it wasn't called the Philly shell, but it is now. It's commonly called the Philly shell now, so let's try and keep that out of the comments where it's not technically the Philly shell, it's the shoulder roll. We all know this, but for common terminology, it's called the Philly shell now. So for the Philly shell, first we're going to demonstrate what it is. So you want to take up your stance in a regular traditional stance. Traditional stance. So your traditional stance, you're going to have both hands up in your high guard. Yep. You're a little bit more squared. You're in the pocket. When you're in the Philly shell, so adopt your Philly shell stance, you'll see his weight is shifted back just a little bit. He's more bladed. He's more upright. This is common because in a Philly shell, distance management is absolutely essential, and you need to keep them off you, so you're often fighting off your back foot. So turn face me. The basic concepts of the Philly shell, for those of you who aren't familiar, your defense is everything you need right here. Now you'll notice that his hand is in a position that a lot of people's aren't when they're fighting in the Philly shell. A lot of the Philly shell, people in the Philly shell like to put their hand in the front. So put your hand in the front because it's meant to catch a jab. So catch my jab. It's meant to catch a jab. It's meant to catch a jab. It's a super great position to be able to do that. But the reason why I get him to put his hand beside his face as opposed to in front is I asked him up front, what's more of a threat to you, a jab or a lead hook?
A lead hook.
Right. So we make sure that we protect against that lead hook first. You can deploy your hand from beside your head to get it in front and knock a jab down, that's easy. If you get your hand out here to get it up for a hook is more risky. And if I've got to risk getting hit by one, I'd rather get hit by a jab than a lead hook. If that makes sense, we'll move on. So hand beside the face, front arm across the body. Now it doesn't have to be stuck there. It can move around, it can stay in that general vicinity, so your jab is going to have different origins. But this is the point. He's protected from my jab. Boom. He's protected from my cross, shoulder roll. Shoulder roll, not dip. Shoulder roll. He's protected from my lead hook. Here. And he's protected from body shots. His arms are already in the way. It's easy for him to adjust this. So if I'm throwing a shot to the body, I'm catching it here, or I'm catching it on his gloves. So that's the basics, the very, very basics of the Philly shell, what the different arm positions are used for. I'm not going to get into the technicalities of it today. Now, why don't you see it more in amateur boxing? Because there's a lot of things that you need in order to be able to use it. The timing that is required for a very, very defensive style is very high level. So if you want to do the Philly shell, you better be really quick. Number one, because your jab is down here now. It's not here where you can fire it out quickly. It's from down here, so it's a longer jab. So your jab better be quick. You better have good footwork because you're now leaning a little bit further back on your back foot so you can get around. you better have a bladed stance. You don't want to fight like this in the Philly, like this in the Philly shell where you're squared up. When you're squared up, so square up. When you're squared up, the jab is going to hit you there. Body shot's going to hit you there. When you are turned, body shot's here. When I turn to fire this body shot, it's right there. He's back here with his arm. He's covering himself up. So if you're used to that traditional, little bit more square stance, you've got a lot of work to do before you can move into this. So I would say once you've done 20, 25 fights, if you want to start getting into the Philly shell, it's not a bad thing to start to explore because it's a very, very good style, but it can be very technically difficult. There is one thing I want to point out before we finish this. Even though we haven't gotten too much into it, we didn't get into when you bend at the waist, which you definitely do with the Philly shell. We didn't get into some of the inside pivots, but that's the basic defense. Now, one of the things, there's a glaring hole in the Philly shell defense that's often not talked about. And then people don't understand. They're fighting out of the Philly shell. All of a sudden, they're catching a cross in the face. Like, I don't understand how I got caught there. So I'm going to show you. So I want you to over rotate on the hook. So if I throw my jab, he's going to catch the jab. That's no threat. If I throw my cross, he's going to catch it with that shoulder roll. If I call my hook, boom, bam. Now, if you take a look at him, so face the camera here. When he went to block that lead hook, he squared up his body. Then that creates this hole. So he blocks the hook, then he gets caught with that. He gets caught with that cross. So what you have to do is, instead of opening up like this, where now I'm square with you, your shoulders still have to remain bladed. So you're down here, and it has to be in here. Your lead shoulder isn't going to move much. You're going to get that hook, that wedge block up in there, but you're not going to rotate. So go ahead again. So jab, shoulder roll, he blocks it. Now, the space is only this big. Face the camera. Now the space is only this big. And his shoulder's already half rolled. So if I throw that cross again, he's just going to hide behind that shoulder. And it's just a matter of him turning that shoulder just slightly. And now the cross that before, when you over-rotate, it hit you in the face. Now the cross deflects off of your shoulder roll. So I hope I've made that clear. That's a very basic introduction to the Philly shell. A little bit about why you don't see it all that much in the amateurs. I don't recommend it for people who are new to the sport. I do recommend giving it a try out. If you're an open class boxer and you're looking for a little leg up with defense, there's nothing wrong with giving it a try. Train hard. And one final thing, I'm not sure where it is down here, I think it's down there. Hit the subscribe, give us a like, put your comment and your feelings in the comment section. It helps us. The more that we get, the more exposure that we get, the more of these videos we can bring for you. Leave a comment in the comment section telling us what you'd like to see next. See you next time.